Recorders. Okay. Hi, my name is Tanya Kaepernick, and welcome to the Empath Alchemy Retreat. We are here to get you moving on your path and help you grow. Today's incredible speaker is Bevin Neiman, and Bevin has over 9 years mentored thousands of empaths, lightworkers, and mentors, helping them craft a lifestyle and a career that nurtures their sensitivity. Bevin served as a 2-time host of a global empath summit, which reached 60,000 participants from 105 countries. More recently, she hosted the Lightworkers Festival for Global Unity inside her community for empowered sensitive leaders. Author of Abundant Empath, a book, Abundant Empath book, avid blogger, natural born gardener, and emerging photographer. Bevin, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you. I'm pleased to be here and I'm so excited to talk about our topic today.
All right. Oh my gosh, our topic. We're actually going to talk today. We're going to roll this. We're going to get this rolling and talk about how empaths are natural chameleons to fit into all kinds of situations, even when they don't honor us.
Right. Absolutely. And a lot of that will show up as people pleasing or adjusting our beliefs, our actions, our presence, whatever that is, to match what we think other people want us to be.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these perceptions may be true because they've explicitly told us, and then others may just be what we're perceiving in our mind. But people pleasing can be really challenging. I have a long history of working on this for myself. And a lot of times we don't even realize we're doing it, right? We don't realize how much we can be a chameleon. I know you can understand that for sure.
Yeah. It's like, it's such a natural thing to slip into. All of a sudden you're like, what was that?
Yeah, before I became a spiritual coach, I worked as a landscape designer, which was a really cool field. And there was a vendor that we collaborated with frequently. And I was on the phone with him. And, I live here in Texas, and he has a really thick Texas accent. And I don't. I grew up on the West Coast of the United States. But by the end of the call, I was literally saying, y'all, I had the accent. I mean, this is how deeply we can. And I didn't even realize that I started laughing at the end. Sometimes when we're standing with someone, we'll actually mirror their exact posture. If they have their hand on their hip, then I have my hand on my hip. And I have to realize, okay, I'm a separate person. I need to be standing the way that I want to be standing. And even these small things, these small awarenesses can help us to really hold our own presence, right? To not merge as much. We have this natural ability as sensitives to merge, and sometimes that can be wonderful. It can help us get such a deep connection with another person or an animal or plants or whatever that will be, or just nature in general, the universe. However, when we do that and we lose our sense of self, when we lose who we really are, separate from other people, we lose our ability to think for ourselves, to make decisions for ourselves, or to use our voice in a way that is empowering. Then it becomes really detrimental. And I spent a lot of years really shutting myself down and sort of being submissive to what everyone else wanted for me, whether that was my career, who they thought I should date, all of these things. And eventually I said, well, that doesn't really work, because when I just do something because someone else wants it, and I think, oh, well, that will help keep the peace in the relationship. Right? That's the biggest reason I think that we do it, is we like harmony. We want energetic harmony. And when there's conflict, when there's a disagreement of opinion or choices or way to go, it feels disharmonizing. It feels, jagged in its energy. And I think one of the biggest things that we can do as sensitive people is learn how to be present when we feel energetically uncomfortable, when there is that tension, That's the most important piece. It's like, it's okay. I don't have to fix this right now. There can be tension. Tension is all right. Tension is healthy. Tension helps us grow. It helps us evolve. It also shows whether this is the right thing for me or not.
Yeah. That's an important thing, how tension, when you create that in a relationship, it really shows the true color of the person you're interacting with, right? Because when we chameleon ourselves, then we don't get to see exactly who they are because we're people pleasing. But when that conflict can show up, it's like, oh, this is who this person is, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one of the things that's really helped me to understand whether what I'm engaging in is healthy or not is to find just a small thing to say no to. And then I watch how the person, the organization, whatever it is, reacts to that. I mean, it needs to be something you really don't want to do, but you really need to just say no and be unapologetic about that. And if the person says, oh, okay, I respect and I honor what you have to say. I honor your boundaries. I honor that you get to make a different decision than me. I'm not going to try to control that. Then you know that you have a healthy dynamic. Yeah. And when a person gets really defensive or they try to exert more pressure, they don't, and people do this not always for malicious purposes. Some people do it because it's habitual. It's what they learned, right? They learned that the boundaries are really fluid and it doesn't really need to be respected, so it doesn't mean the person's horrible or the organization is horrible. It just means that either you're going to have to hold that more strongly, or you may have to make decisions about whether you want to continue to engage in it, because if someone expects you to be a people pleaser, expects you to do that, whether that's on a conscious level or an unconscious level, that is an unbalanced power dynamic, right? You're giving yourself away. You're giving your power away always. And that person's like, I'll take that. Thank you. Whether they're aware that they're doing it or not, and I think there's a lot of humans that are just not aware that this is how it plays out. Power dynamics and power struggles are happening everywhere we look. We can see it. And most people don't even have an awareness that that's what's going on. But, there's a difference between giving your power away, taking power over someone else, because sometimes I've been the person who's like, well, I don't respect the boundary and I'm the one that's pushing because this is what I really want. And I've had to work on that. So it's not just that this happens to sensitives. We can actually be the person who's actually asking someone else to be a people pleaser, asking someone else to be the chameleon for us. So we have to be aware, right? What's the best piece is holding your power and your presence from within, which is unapologetically speaking for what you need and want without needing to hurt someone else or make someone else wrong if they feel differently. And this is where the work comes in. And it's a lot of work, and these relationships will show up over and over to help us. I'm sure you've experienced that in your own life.
I have, and like similar experiences. I've played all of the roles. Right. All of the perspectives and all of the roles. And the beauty about that is it's like when you play that role, you get to understand those people differently, right? It's like, oh, okay, well, this can also be this. It's not just this. It's a bunch of different things. Yeah. And that is where our growth happens, right? I want it to happen in the meditation or in the sound bath, which are both things I really, really love, but it happens in the throes of life.
It does.
Yeah,
it does. It happens when we go, okay, there's a moment of tension. How do I want to show up here?
Yeah. How do I want to show up? And how do I want to come from this? And it's easy to get swept up going throughout your day and just letting stuff you're not aware of take over.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. I think when you do this we have to also practice not feeling guilty about it. Right. That's been a big part for me, because it doesn't feel good when you're disappointing someone. It doesn't feel good if they get upset with you because you don't want to do what they want you to do. You have to be able to say, I'm doing this and I don't have to feel bad about it.
Right. And there's
Right.
that little bit of fear of consequence in there for, right, when you've been maybe punished as a child, right? Where it's like, oh, am I going to get in trouble for saying no? Right.
Mhm.
There's
Yeah.
that little ticker too.
Yeah, I love what you're saying here, because I think this is where a lot of it originates, really,
Yeah.
is, you know, instinctually as human beings, because we are so dependent upon our parents and early caregivers, for years and years and years. We're like one of the species that has the longest term childhood, if you will. We are dependent on pleasing, to some extent, those people who are raising us, you know, whether, it's because they're making it so, or because instinctually, we don't want to get kicked out of the tribe, right? So we learn what the norms are, we learn how to get along, we learn how to compromise, sometimes we learn how to martyr ourselves, depending. A lot of empaths and sensitive people tend to be the rescuer, the fixer, the counselor, the person who smooths it all over in the family when there's an issue. So we learn these things at a very young age, how to do it. It becomes our normal. And we don't really know until probably we go out into the world and have these relationships, where things fall apart, where it just doesn't work, and you're just like, okay, wait a minute, what's happening here, and you realize this isn't how everyone operates.
No.
And you realize this isn't how I want to be operating. And it's very easy then still to fall into those patterns, though,
It is. And
over
you're
and
like,
over and over and over.
you're confused. You're like, but I'm fixing everything. Why is this falling apart?
Right,
Yeah,
right,
because it
right.
doesn't work like that everywhere else.
It doesn't. And we have to realize that anyone else that we're intersecting with also has their own patterns and their own norms, and things that they have awarenesses of and things they don't have awarenesses of. And so, and we're intersecting so that we can have this learning experience, and so we can grow and deepen our self-awareness, right? So the sort of the opposite of being a chameleon would be a deep level of self-awareness.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So chameleon is adjusting itself to everything that's externally focused. Here's this tree branch, I'm going to become that color. Here's this leaf, here's a flower. I'm going to change every single time something on the external changes. And when you sense collective energy, as a lot of empaths do, it's natural for you to sometimes experience things that really aren't based on your own experiences. They're based on what's going on externally. And we can get really focused on that. There are times when, I'm like, okay, here comes the moon cycle, and I can feel things ramping up, or there's a change in the astrological season, and I can feel things ramping up, or getting really low in vibration, or whatever that is. I can easily find myself like pulled along by some of these external energetic influences, if you will. But then, keep coming back inside and saying, well, who am I? And what's actually going on in my life right now? Do I want to feel this way, even though these things are happening? And I'm not suggesting we do bypassing, right? Spiritual bypassing. But there are days when we need to say, I need to disconnect myself from that. And I need to be in my own energy, and I need to be focused on what is it that I'm working forward in my life, whether that's a spiritual business, whether that's volunteerism, or whether that's starting a family, whether that's, making a career transition, whatever people are working on. Everybody usually has something that they're focused on at this point. How do I kind of focus and pull my energy back from all these external collective things and really say, where do I want to be today? What state of mind do I want to be in? What kind of thoughts do I want to have going through my head? How do I want to feel? How do I want my body to feel? How am I going to care for myself? And this is really changing from worrying about how everyone else feels that you should be living your life, and who you should be, and how you should be showing up, and what you should believe in, and going, no, I'm changing that focus, that central focus, to what is it that I want and need. And for a lot of highly sensitive people, this feels really selfish, right? Like, gosh, I've been giving to everyone else for so long, doing what everyone else wanted me to do. And now to say no and to say, I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to trust myself. I'm going to follow my heart. Feels selfish at first.
It can, yeah.
Some people, I even see this, you may see this online. They say, am I the narcissist? Because, now I'm, just all about me. And I'm like, there's a difference between being selfish and self-focused. So selfishness is, I'm going to get what I need and I'll do whatever I have to do and I'll use whoever I have to use to get it, right? That's selfishness. Self-focused is I'm understanding that if I am taking care of me and I am aligning with what's good for me, then I actually have energy to give and to serve. But I get to thrive while I'm doing that. I don't have to sacrifice my health, my mental health, my emotional health, my financial health, my physical health in order to do this sacred work. Things really start to change when you carve out room and space and time and energy for you.
Yeah. Well, how could they not, right? When you start to make that a priority instead of other people, right? There's no way you could, like, your universe could stay the same when you start to treat yourself like you're the one who matters, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So often we get used to giving ourselves away. I love how you touch on the point that it's like, it can feel really awkward and unsure to be like, okay, yeah, I get to do this too. I get to be here. I get to be happy and I get to fulfill my own needs instead of always kind of taking care of other people.
Yeah. And I'll say that it's really challenging when the other people are very close family members, very close friends, a spouse. I mean, it's really challenging when it's someone you care deeply about. It's easier for us to distance ourselves a little bit from, things that are happening in the news or, a person that you don't really know on the internet. Okay, we had a little tense interaction, but I don't really know that person. So I can distance myself. Where it gets more challenging to pull your energy back is when it's someone that you know and love. And you want to make it better for them. You don't want them to be hurting. You don't want them to be struggling. And what I keep saying, and I keep saying this to myself, not just to everyone else that I teach, is when we pick up somebody else's baggage and we carry it for them, we are robbing them of their ability to learn and grow.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not saying we just abandon people. That's not what I'm talking about here. And it's fine to be a support system. But if you find that you are being so drained by other people's problems, issues, drama, insecurities, whatever that is, you realize this is where I need to create some space for myself.
Yeah.
And I need to affirm that they are strong enough to walk this path.
Yeah. That's why they have it, right? And it's interesting if we started looking at it as a workout for them, right? Almost as something that would aid their health for them to carry their own baggage so they can move through it. Yeah.
I love it. It's a workout, like at the gym.
It's a workout at the gym for them, right? It's about shifting that mindset instead of being like, oh, I'll take it for you so things are easier for you, right? And then it's like, oh, that's not going to make them stronger at all, right? No. Yeah. Oh, did we freeze?
We might have lost each other for a
There
moment.
we go. Yeah, we did. We did. I love Zoom. I love
it happens,
right? There's so much connection. And then wait, hold on. Are we pausing or did I lose you? Yeah, that's so good. Oh my gosh. Wow. This is one of those things that you could just sit here and contemplate for a little while and be like, oh, where am I doing this in my life? How do I recognize this? Is there anything is there any reflective tools that you give your clients to work with other than journaling, where they can kind of see this stuff within them?
Yeah, for me, a lot of this really shows up in the body, in the physical body,
Okay.
because our body is a powerful antenna. It's an intuitive antenna, and when something doesn't feel good and it doesn't feel right, your body will have something to say about it. At least my body does, right? Your back will start to hurt, or you'll have this, really heavy feeling in your shoulders or between your shoulder blades, or you'll just feel really drained and exhausted, and you'll just think, what happened? What did I do? And it's really a sign, I think, that we're taking on too much. We're
Yeah.
trying to be responsible for too much.
Yeah, I tend to feel like I'm walking through cement. Like, oh, right? Yeah, your body is so interesting, isn't it? Even if you're just talking to people and a conversation comes up and you're like, ooh, no, right? Like your body knows before your brain knows usually.
Right. Yeah. It's we have a highly attuned nervous system. And then of course that, everything, your skin, your muscles, your heart, everything is picking things up. Your hair, they say hair is a very powerful antenna. It's picking all these things up, and we can tell. And the other piece is, does someone feel contracted? Like when people are around, and the weight of their expectations or the weight of the world's expectations is so much that you're just like curling up, you're pulling in, right? Which is very different than, I am pursuing something that I love. It lights me up. And then you're more open, your chest is open, your heart is open, but then we have where you're looking down and you're kind of hunched and you're trying not to take up too much space. And sometimes I even notice this when I'm walking, like in public. I'll look at my posture, and I'll just feel like I'm looking down. I won't meet people's eyes, and I'm like, why am I not taking up space? I need to be taking up space. It's okay for me to do that. And we have to practice that body language being open. And when it's not, we go, here's something going on. Here's something I can start to look at. And maybe I need to shift something here. Maybe I need to set some boundaries. Maybe I need to contemplate if this is the right fit for me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm curious to how many people, when you started talking about that, were like, oh, how am I sitting now?
Exactly. Yeah. Am I like all crossed, my arms crossed, like how open am I to not only what's good for me, but just like opportunities that want to come. I think that many sensitive people can get into sort of a defensive mode where the world is overwhelming, and I engage with it and I completely become a chameleon, and I just shift and adapt to whatever. Or I'm gonna isolate myself and come over here and not participate at all and contract back. And it takes a lot of courage to make your own choices. It takes courage to hold your presence. It takes practice. It's like every day you're reminding yourself, how am I standing? How am I being open? How am I being open-minded? How am I allowing great things to flow into me? Because other people don't just get to have a happy, fulfilled, stable, aligned life. You get to as well. This is what we want for everyone. And that includes us. It doesn't include just everyone out there. It includes us. We get to have this too.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen overnight to realign yourself, to set boundaries. It might cause some conflicts. You might have to make some difficult decisions. I've had to leave behind a number of relationships that were very close to me, in order to really get myself into a place where I could hold my own confident presence and be unapologetic about who I am. So I'm not saying it's easy. I hold deep compassion for everyone who's on this journey. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel, right? There can be some temporary chaos, some temporary conflict, some temporary grief, whatever that may be, whether you're leaving a job or leaving a home or leaving a relationship, and then, you're stepping into something new. But it does get better and better.
It does. And that's where communities like this come in handy, right?
Yeah.
It is. And, we feel such a deep connection to people, even that we're leaving behind. But you're right. It's not an easy thing because of the loyalty we often feel to people, more loyal to them than we are to ourselves. Right. And that's where it's one of those things where it's like, man, you got to come back here. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I think you're right. Community is really important. Having just a small inner circle of people who are also walking this path and taking this journey and doing their own growth. And they accept you for exactly who you are.
Yep.
They're not pressing upon you any expectations that you need to do. I mean, we already have enough pressure. We don't need to be putting that on each other. And so when you start to align yourself with people, even if it's just 2 or 3 people who are like that, and you do, of course, you're going to give that in reciprocal exchange, but it changes everything, because trying to do it solo can be rough. I mean, I'm not saying people can't do it, but we do need each other. We do need support. Sometimes we need validation. Sometimes we need someone we can bounce that off of, whether that's a therapist or a mentor or a good friend or whoever that is. We all need that. We all need that support.
Yeah. Bouncing gives you perspective. There is a time for, right, that solitary kind of, I've got to get all of my own stuff straight. But then there's also I'm going to overthink the crap out of this, so let me bounce it off of somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think that the overthinking, and of course we have depth of processing, and that can be a really a positive thing, and then it can take us down into a thought spiral, but I think that's closely related to being a chameleon, because if we're constantly second guessing, oh, should I have said that thing? Are they upset because I didn't text them back in 5 minutes? Or, when we're in this space where we're constantly doubting ourselves and overthinking, if someone is a true friend, you can pick that back up. They realize, oh, you have a busy life, I have a busy life, like, you'll get back to me when you can. It starts to be so relieving that there's less pressure. Right? There's less pressure. And then if you step into any kind of dynamic where there's more pressure, you can feel that immediately, the difference between those two things.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really great point. I love that point. Right? Right. And how do you know one without the other too?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you always kind of lived as a people pleaser, it's the norm. Then when you stop doing it and you start really focusing on self unapologetically, and then something like that comes up, you go, wait a minute, this is that old thing, and I don't want to go back into that pattern. But thank you very much for playing. But I'm not doing that dynamic. So, people worry, like, am I going to go back to it? Well, you might, but you're really going to be able to recognize it because of the contrast.
Yeah. And that's one of the best things, is when you can look at it and recognize it and be like, oh, okay, I'm breaking up with this pattern. Right. Yeah.
It's really empowering.
Yeah. Because it's only when we don't recognize it that we fall into it. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That whole point of awareness, right? Which it's everything always comes back around to that. And you're like, oh, come on. Can't there be another answer? Pull a different card, right? Like, I want a different answer on that one.
Nope. It's always self-awareness.
Always. Every time. Every time.
It is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is just about, having that courage, and one of the things that really helped me when I would struggle with speaking up on my own behalf is, inside my head, I would say, okay, in 1, 2, 3, say it. Right. Because I'd be in there, I'd be like, maybe I shouldn't say this. Maybe it's going to be offensive. I had this whole voice going on, and I'd be like, 1, 2, 3, and then I have to speak it out, and it's a done deal. It's a done deal. I've now spoken for myself.
Ooh.
Right.
Yeah.
And it gets easier. Right.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, that's what I need. That's what I had to do. I had to, give myself a gentle nudge. Like I need to say this. I need to speak up about this. And I can do it in a way that's not hurtful,
Mhm.
but it needs to still be said.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can do it in a way that's not an outburst, because I think that's something we get used to too. It's like you hold it in so
Right.
long that eventually you just got to like, whoa, and it comes out stressed, or it comes out angry, or it comes out in this kind of explosion. But if you just kind of keep going at it, it doesn't
Right.
build up to the point where it's got a volcano out of you.
Yes, emotional volcanoes. What I think that's called. I love that. And one of the things I did one year, my entire year's affirmation was, when something bothers me, I will speak up right away.
Oh,
Because I did that before, what you're talking about. I held it in
yeah.
until I couldn't take it anymore. And by that time, you are going to do damage. You're going to do damage to the relationship, to the other person, to yourself, and if it happens, I mean, it happens to every human being. Every human being holds something in and has, had that moment. But what you're talking about is so important, because if we address things before they become this huge issue,
Mhm.
as soon as it bothers you, say something.
Yeah.
You can even say something like, I noticed you said this. Could you tell me more about what you meant by that? You don't have to be like, you triggered me and this, there's a way you can say it that maybe you have a misperception of what was said, or maybe you don't, but you're just clarifying. You're just like, okay, I'm clarifying. But now, someone hasn't done it to you 5 times, and now you're really, really pissed off. And now you're like, okay, I'm going to unleash the monster. No, and this is the process of emotional regulation too, right? So this is, again, it comes back to that self-awareness. How does emotion come up inside of me? What does it feel like in my body? For me, it comes up in my stomach, and I can feel like, if I'm angry, I can kind of feel it bubbling. I'm like, okay, I feel you down there. Here's what we need to do to be okay. I don't want to stuff it, but I don't want to explode with it either, right? And this is something that sensitive people have, is a deeper emotional range. And so we have to find ways to express that, to process those emotions in a healthy way, whether that's going off and crying, or journaling, or whatever we need to do, or going for a run, or whatever helps you, like, to get out that energy to where you can come back and be in a space of consciousness to have that conversation. So saying no is an art form. It's an art form. It's like there's a certain sophistication to it. And at first you might just have to say no, and then let it fall where it may. And then over time, you learn how to do it in a way where, even if you're triggered, you're not being hurtful to others, and you're not causing damage.
That is an art.
It is. It's a lifelong art.
It is.
I keep practicing all the time.
Yeah.
I'm an Aries. So, like, we're fiery, and sometimes, it takes a while, but you get me up there and I'm just like, but it's a matter of, understanding how do I react? What does trigger me? What is something that I can compromise on? What is something I'm not willing to compromise on at all? And really knowing yourself and knowing what those things are, and then being able to communicate those in a way to others that is firm and kind.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Firm and kind. Those 2 words do go together.
Right.
Yeah. They do. Often I do think there's a misconception that they can't be.
Right.
That kindness is a doormat.
Right.
But firm and kind are definitely something that go together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is really about assuming, 100% responsibility for your life, for yourself, for your actions, for your beliefs, for your thoughts, and taking sovereignty over your energy, over your life. And it feels really different than giving that away, and and just shifting yourself to be what you think people want you to be. It is more responsibility. It is.
It is.
I mean, but on the other hand, it's much more fulfilling.
It is. Yeah.
So, everything is a balance. There's a responsibility and there's benefit to all of it. right, that we have.
That's true. There is. Now, man, you packed some major wisdom into this.
Well, thank you. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to add?
Hmm. I would just tell people, be kind to yourself. You know, one of the things I like to do is when I realize I've made progress, even if it's the smallest little thing, like, oh, I spoke up before it made me angry. I just pat myself on the back. I'm like, you're getting better at this every time. You're getting better at this. So be kind to yourself. You know, give yourself the kindness that you would naturally extend to the other people in your life. Give yourself a kindness you would extend to a stranger, you know, at the grocery store or wherever. We need to give that to ourselves, you know, because sensitive people tend to be really, really hard on themselves.
Right?
We tend to be really hard on ourselves.
Oh, isn't that
you
the
know?
most interesting thing? We give kindness to everybody, even when it's not always warranted. But then to come back to us, we're like, what? Why would I get it there?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so if you can start to treat yourself as if you are your best friend, this is your primary relationship. You're going to walk around with you from the moment you took your first breath to the moment you take your last breath. And so what kind of relationship dynamic do you want to have?
Yeah.
And that gets to be a choice. It's not just something that happens, right? Just like any other relationship, it takes effort, focus, attention, consciousness. Our relationship with self is so, so important. And when we strengthen that, any kind of work we do to strengthen that relationship with self will get reflected in our outer experience.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Because of the way we're showing up, people who match that vibration will show up, opportunities will show up. You know, I put a particular vibration out there and you reached out to me and said, hey, I'd love for you to be on this event. And I was like, I'm so pleased. And, you know, I watched your video and I was like, this is a person I can be aligned with. And, you know, what you're doing is really honing your discernment. Who is for me? What is for me? What opportunities are for me? And that is all about getting really clear about who you are, what kind of values you want to walk through the world with, how you want to show up, and what you feel like you're here to do. And everybody's here to do something different. That's the diversity of 8 billion humans. But you know, what is it that you really want? You know, it doesn't mean everything comes magically instantly. We still have to put the work in the physical realm. But when we're clear, we're really, really clear about who we are and what we need and what we want and what we're willing to give and what we're not. And you know, what kind of lifestyle and what kind of career we want and all these things, then our outer life aligns to that intention.
Yeah. You know what? And it shows up like magic too when it does. The synchronicities of when you are clear is so much fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. Absolutely.
That's like the reward for all of that effort you put in, right? If you want to talk in reward based stuff, but I know the brain loves that, right? And that's what's like, oh, this is that really cool stuff right here.
It is.
Yeah.
It's okay for us to have rewards.
Yeah.
We get to receive as well.
Yeah. Well, right. Yeah. Receiving is a great thing. Yeah. Well, there's that weird like reward and punishment thing, but that's a whole different topic. But yes, I like that. The receiving of it. You get to receive all of the cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, do you want to tell us a little bit about the free gift you provided for the retreat members?
Sure, absolutely. I invite anyone who's out there and thinking, you know, am I an intuitive empath? Maybe you've known about this for some time, or you're brand new to the concept. And the way that I define being an empath is a person with the ability to sense shifts in energy, right? It can be emotional energy, mental energy, environmental, astrological, collective energy, physical energy, whatever it may be. You know, combined with this deep intuitive knowing this holistic understanding of life, being able to put together all the and connect all the dots and all the patterns and see the interrelationship of things. If you want to really dive deeper and understand more about this gift, I have a free quiz called Are You an Intuitive Empath? It has 8 different components. It's very comprehensive. And actually, I think it's maybe the largest non-scientific study of energetically sensitive people. Like 13,000 people have already taken this quiz. It's amazing to see the results and the trends that we have. One of the biggest trends I'll just share just as a quick note is that empaths are really great at understanding whether someone is being genuine or not. So that has like a 95% rate. Like almost every empath that's taken this quiz has said, yes, I can tell when someone is not sharing the truth. I can tell. I call it the empath lie detector. But yeah, so I would just invite anyone who wants to take this. At the end, you'll get some results and some recommendations for resources that I've put together that can help wherever you are on the path, whether you're just awakening to that, whether you're kind of experiencing some turbulence between feeling all the world and then trying to like isolate yourself, as we've been talking about, or if you're getting into that more balanced state where you're really getting clear. I have a variety of different free resources that you can tap into. So I know we'll have the link with this recording so that people can tap into that quiz.
Yeah. Oh, links. Ooh, those things are fun for me. But that quiz sounds awesome. I can't wait for people to dive into it. It sounds like you've put a lot of really great work into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Love to invite anyone in.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of this incredible information with us.
And thank you for having me here, for diving into this juicy conversation about shifting from being that chameleon to really having sovereignty over your life. And, it's just an ongoing process, and what lights you up right now may be different than what will light you up in 5 years. So leave yourself open your body, open your mind and your heart to receive everything that wishes to come and flow through you and to you, because you deserve it. You deserve to have that great relationship with self.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, like, ooh, flabbergasted by that. Thank you to Bevin, and thank you to all of you for watching. I hope that touched you as much as it did me. And tune in tomorrow, because we've got more great information coming for you. And until then, you know the drill. Think deep, dream big, and spread light.